Hello and welcome to Fernbank Science Center's The Sky This Week for October 17th through 23rd, 2021. The full moon in the middle of this week is the Hunter's moon for this year, and there are some constellations of hunters to search for as well. Start off in the early morning at the beginning of the week, around 6 in the morning. Face the south part of the sky for your observing spot. If you're not sure which way is south, think of which way the sun appeared to go down. That's the western part of the sky. Put your right shoulder in that direction, and you'll be facing the south part of the sky. At this time of year, we're just beginning to see early in the morning some of the really bright stars that we get to see all year round. Some of the winter constellations are finally becoming visible early in the morning. Many people are familiar with the 3 stars in a row for the belt of Orion, the hunter. He has 2 stars for his shoulders. Use your imagination. A couple of stars for his knees. There's a faint curve of stars like a shield in between the hunter and the hunted, in this case, Taurus the bull. And those 3 belt stars can be used as a signpost. Follow them up higher in the sky, and they take you to the face of Taurus, the bull, with Aldebaran, his bright red eye star. Back to the belt in the opposite direction, the bright star Sirius, brightest star that we can see at night from anywhere on the Earth. Sirius is about 8 light years away from Earth. That means that the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second, times 60 seconds in a minute, times 60 minutes in an hour, times 24 hours in a day, times 365 and a little bit days in a year. It gets to be a pretty big number with lots of zeros, about 6 trillion miles for 1 light year. Sirius is considered fairly close, only about 8 light years from the Earth. Those bright stars are visible in the early morning sky and fairly high up. Orion's up near the top of the sky, and Sirius is plenty high as well. See if you can find Sirius anyway. On the real sky, this is an exaggerated image. On the real sky, Sirius will not look like a round blob, but will be a nice bright star point. The constellation of Orion, the hunter, that's used during the wintertime to find some other constellations. And it's fun to look at up close because Orion has a little bit of everything. Red stars, blue stars, old stars, new stars. Start with that belt again, those 3 in a row. Up here in his shoulders, the star Betelgeuse is a red giant star. Really big, almost 400 times bigger across than the sun is. Really far, over 640 light years away from us. So it must be really bright if it's easy to see and it's that far away. And it is, it's a fairly bright star. The red color indicates that it is not as hot as our sun is. It's relatively cooler star. And Betelgeuse is one of the red stars, easy to find up there in Orion. Check down here by his knees or feet, Rigel, a bright blue giant star, which actually, spectroscopically and telescopically, it's a system of at least 4 stars, Rigel being the largest and the easiest one for us to see. That's another giant star. Blue color indicates that it's much hotter than our sun is. While Betelgeuse is kind of an old star, that nebula that's in Orion is a birthplace for new stars. So Orion pretty much has it all, and it's a nice, bright stars. Even from my light-polluted backyard, I can still pick out the shoulders, the belt, and the knees for Orion. If you imagine him as a hunter going after the bull, Aldebaran, in the bright red eye star, another old giant star, might help if you're using your imagination to pick out where Orion is or what it might look like on the sky. By the middle of the week, October 20th, around 10 o'clock at night, facing the south still, a couple of planets and a bright full moon rising in the east. When the moon is full, it rises as the sun is setting, and the hunter's moon is no exception. It'll be joining a couple of bright planets in the sky. Toward the southwest part of the sky, the planet Venus is visible, again, exaggerated in this image. It's not a great big ball shaped thing, it's a really bright point star point, one of the planets closer to the sun than Earth is. The two giant planets, Saturn and Jupiter, much farther from the sun than Earth, again, fairly easy to find because they're so bright in the evening sky. If you find them, and they're also going to be fairly high up on the sky, Jupiter's pretty easy. It's pretty bright. Saturn, you might have to search for a little bit, particularly with that full moonlight flooding the night sky. When the moon is full, as I mentioned, its whole lit up side is facing us at night. So the moon only has half the light shining on it at any one time. Sunlight is shining on the moon, just like it shines on the Earth. We can see the lit up side of the moon in the full phase. And this year, October 20th, is our full moon at 10:57 a.m., technically. But at that time of day, for us anyway, in the Atlanta area, the moon is not up yet. We'll have to wait a couple of hours for the sun to set, and the moon will rise in the east. The moon that follows the harvest moon, September's harvest moon, right near the equinox, that's the moon that lights up the sky later at night for people to continue gathering their harvests. By a month later, we're working with a hunter's moon, also bright, stays up all night, nice and bright. And this is probably the time of year when people who were living particularly close to the land, this is the time when they were hunting, slaughtering, and preserving meat so that they would be able to live through the winter, particularly in the northern hemisphere and further north on the globe. Just simply surviving winter was a big deal. The food had run out, the grain wasn't growing, the animals were hibernating. You had to be prepared to live through the winter. By the end of the week, the moon has moved along its orbit a bit more. Now it's a waning gibbous moon, not quite full anymore. And on the 23rd at 10 o'clock at night, the moon is right near the horns of Taurus the bull. There's Aldebaran. At this time, remember the last time we saw it was 6 o'clock in the morning and it was up pretty high. It has a ways to go from 10 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning. But in this same area of the sky, there's another sort of hunter. If you can find the moon and Aldebaran, draw a line between them and keep going. There's a lily shape. I think of it as kind of a lily shape. There's a curl of petals this way and a curl of petals this way, and the stamen and all coming out the middle. This is the constellation of Perseus. While not a hunter in the sense that Orion is, Perseus, kind of not real bright stars in this constellation, more sort of a claw shape perhaps, but Perseus also hunted, at least in mythology he did. Zoom in a little bit closer. Notice where our waning gibbous moon is in relation to Aldebaran. And this little cluster of stars, the Pleiades, we'll look at those again next month. Perseus, though, did hunt. In mythology, he was the one who killed the Gorgon, the monster who had snakes for hair. Anyone that she looked at turned to stone. Very bad for shipping industry, particularly. So that was Perseus's job, was to get rid of Medusa, the Gorgon, a hunter in the early evening sky. That's it for this week. Thank you very much for listening. We'd really appreciate your checking Fernbank Science Center's website, www.fernbank.edu. See what's going on at the Science Center. We're not yet open to the public, but hopefully very soon we will be. Keep an eye also on our Facebook page for the Friday evening at-home planetarium programs and all the other activities going on. And have a great week.